Hey guys, it's Angela. Welcome back to Wild Style. Today I'm going to give you a quick tour of the garden since it's been a little while since we last looked. It is fairly windy out here today, so hopefully that doesn't mess with our volume too much. We'll go ahead and get started. So here's the entrance to the garden. This raspberry bush is doing really well this year. It's put on a ton of raspberries. The kids are out here every day picking them off. They're a very little variety, but it's pretty good tasting variety. They get pretty sweet. And then here's where we planted that lobula, I think is what it was called. That's vine. It's gonna, in theory, grow up. It can get up to 18 feet tall. And I don't know if it's gonna make it. We have a fairly short growing season here, but it is working its way up this cattle kennel that we're using as a trellis, as kind of the entrance to the garden area. And then on the other side, it with pumpkins, just a small variety. And so this is a Jilby little variety of pumpkins. We are training that to grow up also. As you can see, there is one little pumpkin here. It's green, starting to turn its way to orange. There's going to be another one here. You do kind of have to help these decide that they want to grow up. So I'm just going to stick that one so it can grow upright. Because this one at least just kind of wants to grow down. So trying to train it that it wants to grow up. We also got, these are, I don't remember what this variety was called, but it's something fire geraniums, and they have been really fun. I don't usually go for red, but these have been fun because you can see them clear across the yard because they are so bright. They're just beautiful and fun. So if this grows up, this is the pumpkin on a stick, that eggplant that we talked about, that should grow up about 4 feet tall and then have little, it's going to look like pumpkins on there and just give us some fun fall interest there for a little bit. First time trying those plants. They're still pretty little, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, this is the first bed. We have, I think this is cilantro that actually reseeded from last year. I didn't plant cilantro here, so this came up all on its own, so we've just let it kind of do its thing. These are early jalapenos. We do have some jalapenos on here. Just a small variety of jalapenos. Over here, don't mind that giant weed, but over here is where we had all of our peas. There's still a bunch of peas on there, but now they're old and they don't taste as good because they got too large. But we've been through several pounds of peas, but they're pretty much done. This bed could probably be pulled out anytime. Over here, this is our onions that we planted. They're looking fantastic. We do have some onions out in the field. Last year the onions in the field did better. This year the onions in this bed are doing better. So never quite know what you're going to get with onions, but these are looking great. Still growing. They're not ready yet, but you can see them coming up through the soil. It's okay if those bulbs pop up above the soil. Totally normal for the onions. All they need is their roots, which are on the very bottom of that bulb, to grow and to be in there. So these are ready to harvest. Once they kind of turn brown and the stems flop down, that usually means they're ready to harvest. So I usually wait for that. As you can see along this backside, we do have some pumpkin varieties in here. So I'm trying to also train these not to grow in my onions, but they're stubborn. I'm trying to get them to grow out, because what I want them to do is grow out into the field. So you can see how they are doing that. In some places there's just a lot of them, so I'm actually going to go ahead and straighten these all out because they've got room to go out as far as they want to in the field, and that will give plenty of room. You can see over here we do have one pumpkin that's larger, and there's several smaller ones. As the pumpkins grow, tags get buried. There's a really big one. It looks like this is a flat variety of pumpkin of some kind, and so I might be able to stack them up, make a cute little pumpkin stack out of them, which is one of my favorite things to do for fall decoration. Moving on to this bed, we have broccoli. We've harvested some of the broccoli, and then as you harvest ahead, it will continue to grow more. These are struggling because it's hot out here. The broccoli doesn't love the heat, so they're still growing, but just they are kind of struggling. You can see where the leaves help protect them, but they do kind of turn a little bit discolored due to just our heat levels. There's some more pepper plants here. I don't think these have any peppers on them yet. These have been struggling a bit. I've got an artichoke plant here, but I don't see any artichoke coming up out of that yet. These are potatoes. We do have some that look like they're done over here, so if I go to do potatoes for dinner, I'm going to start with this section, see if I can find some potatoes in there. And over here, this is the herb garden. It's struggling this year more than usual. This is basil that we started from seed. Those are chives. We have been cutting those off and using them to cook with. So anytime I have a recipe that calls for green onion or chives, either one, I will come and use this plant. I've got either a watermelon. It looks a lot like watermelon. I think it's watermelon in here and then also in this corner. They're still fairly small, so I don't know if we're going to have a long enough growing season to get any melons from them. Just seems like everything's a little bit stunted this year, more so than some other years. But here we have parsley. Along the back edge is some dill. And then I also have cilantro here that we planted. Over here we have a few carrots. Those didn't turn out well either. We also planted radishes in with them. And I think I overplanted the radishes and they just crowded out the carrots. So I do have a few carrots, but the purpose is to plant the radishes with the carrots. And then if you harvest the radishes while they're small, they space out your carrots for you. We got busy this year. We didn't get to that. And so the radishes got too big and ended up shoving the carrots out of the way. So next year I'll either skip the radishes or I'll do less of them just because I know that I may not harvest them. Okay, this is the cut flower bed. If you saw the video I did the other day, I made a bouquet out of several of these flowers. Those for that video last night, and now today there's quite a bit more. I could do another arrangement. Most of what I have in here, these are supposed to be the easiest cut flowers to grow. So I started with these since this is my first year. So there's several varieties of zinnias. I've got kind of an orange variety, white. This one's one of my favorites, the orange and pink down here. It's just beautiful. I've also got a pink variety. This is a dark pink variety, which I don't have any of those blooming right now because I used the one last night. So this is actually like a lime variety, which I thought would be really fun in a flower arrangement. So I've got some stock growing up, and then all these along the back are cosmos. Most of them are pink or white, and I didn't realize how tall those plants get. They've kind of gotten really tall and they've flopped into my other flower plants. So next year I will know a little bit better how those grow, and I might just stick those and give them a section to themselves, because they do get so big and floppy, and that way they can flop over each other but not overpower my zinnias. So something to maybe try for next year. That's it for the bed gardens. We'll go ahead and head over to the field garden. Okay, so out here in the field garden, this first row is potatoes. There's a bunch of potatoes. I think they're growing well, as far as I can tell. I don't think they're quite done yet, but they are getting close. So we have a delicata squash here, and then I have a bunch of broccoli here and cabbage down there. We have harvested several of the broccoli and cabbage. The cabbage are starting to have something that's eating them, so I either need to get them sprayed or get them harvested. Right behind me, these are golden beets. Our first year growing those, so I don't actually know when those are going to be done growing. So we're just trying to keep an eye on that. And then we've got, these are the onions. They're actually kind of hard to see because they are so small out here, but compared to the ones that were in the bed, they're struggling more out here this year. So the first batch that we planted didn't take, and most of them died because they didn't quite have the right water access. We had water on either side of them, but the water wasn't actually getting to the onion plants themselves. So those died. We replanted, and they just have moved much slower for whatever reason. This next row is a bunch of green beans. It looks like their tops got eaten off by the antelope, but a bunch of green beans in this row. I think they are ready to be harvested or close to that. At least we can start harvesting several of them. At the end of that row, we have some melons, cantaloupe style melons. They've got several flowers on them, so hopefully we will actually be able to get some cantaloupe this year. I've got acorn squash here. I thought there was. There's a little squash down there, so it's coming along. It's just going to take some time. There's some more onions here. There again, they look about the same as the other row. They're just kind of slow going out here. On the very end, we found a pepper plant kind of at the end of the season for our nurseries in town, and that plant is a struggle there. It's not like its spot there, so I don't know that it's going to make it. There's some more pepper plants over here. We actually do have a couple of really good sized ones out here. That one's a good looking one. This one's a good looking one. But those also got eaten by the antelope, so they've just struggled. And then this is my first year growing artichokes. This one plant, though, actually has 3 artichokes starting. It's doing amazingly well. The plant next door also has an artichoke, so I'm really excited for those. I started those seeds indoors as seeds because our growing season's not long enough. I didn't know how they would do, but they're actually coming along. So if we end up getting an artichoke or 2 out of those, I'm going to be really surprised, but also excited. So kind of a fun experiment. The rest of these, which is now kind of grown into a bulk mess, is a mixture of spaghetti squash. Mostly that's going to be on this end where I'm at. You can see some spaghetti squash down in there. And then a bunch of different varieties of pumpkins, so we can have pumpkins to decorate with, pumpkins to make jack-o'-lanterns with. So we have a lot of pumpkins and squash going on in here. And they kind of all intermingle and mix with each other, and that's okay. That seemed like that actually helped them last year when we had them do that. Whereas before, years where I've had them more separate, that it actually seemed like it was harder for them to thrive. So there's just something about being close quarters with each other and letting those vines just intertwine actually seems to help them. So speaking of vines, but kind of same thing as the beds. They're okay growing in here, but I also want to start training the vines to go out into the field because they can just go crazy out there as much as they want. This next row over, we have some tomatoes. They got eaten by the antelope a lot right at the beginning of the season, and they just have struggled. Usually we have tomatoes by this point, and we don't have anything ripe this year. We have some unripe ones coming, but they are just behind. I think we've had a cold year, and then the antelope have kind of decimated everything. So between the two, they are struggling. Same thing over here. I think these are more of a cherry tomato variety or a pear. This might be the yellow pear tomatoes that we did. They're kind of taking on a pear shape, so they're close to being ripe, but they're just not yet. We do have some tomatoes down in there, but just behind there's a good looking little pumpkin. And then we have some corn growing up here. Rhubarb, we have three patches of rhubarb in here, and that comes back every year. Actually looks better earlier than in the spring than it does right now. I think it's a little bit hot for it. Okay, then right here we have zucchini, and I actually have one on there that's ready to be picked, so let's see if I can get in there and pick that. I have some yellow squash, and then more pumpkin varieties down there with lots of jack-o'-lanterns, lots of different sizes, so that will be fun. But alright, I'm going to see if I can get the zucchini off. Mostly because I wore the wrong shoes. Try and get through these thistles. Okay, here we go. So, beautiful looking zucchini there. Take that in. Add that to our dinner. And I think that's it for the garden update tour. I will keep you guys updated. Hopefully, as things progress a little bit later, we can get even more production out here, and I'll update you guys with that. But for today, that's all I have. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you next time.